What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are basically going to continue our coverage over the Hellfire Gala Event. Now remember, the Hellfire Gala Event is basically a storyline that was being done by Marvel a couple years ago to kind of say, hey, listen, when it comes to the X-Men, they are usually known as the second-class race because they're mutants. But with them becoming a nation, mutants are no longer second class. They're now first class, if you want to say it like that. But also, having mutants on Earth could be a great thing. And so you had Emma Frost and the X-Men and the mutant race basically invited a lot of different humans, very important humans, to this party, the Hellfire Gala event, where basically it was a way for the mutant race to show off what they were able to accomplish in their short period of time being a nation. Now, with that being said, though, it's also a way for them to show future projects coming down the road, like Mars. Because remember, in Planet Size X-Men #1, we basically watch the X-Men take Mars and turn it to a planet where humans and mutants can now live on in the near future. And so, of course, it's a huge accomplishment. And so that was a Hellfire Gala event. Now, each chapter basically focuses on a set of characters, a team, or even a character. Now, with that being said, we have covered Excalibur, New Mutants, Wolverine, X-Force, all those characters. But now we're going to sit down and cover Sword. Now remember, Sword is basically the space station that's out in space to basically protect the Earth. While you have S.H.I.E.L.D. protecting Earth on the ground level, you have Sword protecting Earth in outer space. Now, of course, Sword only came back in the X of Swords crossover event. And really, Sword is run by a bunch of mutants. But of course, when it comes to Abigail Brand, her main goal is still to protect Earth, not just the mutant race, even though she is a mutant. Her goal is to protect the entire Earth from any kind of alien attack. Now, with all that being said, today's chapter is focusing on Sword, but a little bit different way. And you see what I mean as we go through this book. Now, the reason why I say that because the opening pages doesn't really focus on anybody from Sword. It really focuses on Captain America and also Doctor Doom because they were basically invited to the Hellfire Gala event. And so when they arrived, of course, they basically hung around. They saw what the mutants wanted to show. But of course, they also saw when the mutants showed that Mars has been transformed, that Arakko is now on Mars, that Mars is now a living planet. Now, with that happening, it's Steve Rogers kind of taking it all in. And what I mean by that is Steve Rogers, he fought in World War II. Now, of course, he was frozen right after the war, or really right before the war actually ended. But with him being frozen, he came out to a new world. And of course, a lot of things have changed once he was frozen. Now, with him being back, of course, he had a lot of questions. And one of the questions that he had was, did humans achieve the goal of reaching Mars and turning Mars into a living planet for us to live on in the near future? And of course, when he asked Iron Man that question, Iron Man said no, because before Planet Size X-Men, you didn't have anybody really living on Mars. Now, Mars was used for different things in the past, but it wasn't turned into a planet where humans and mutants can live on. And so it's Steve Rogers kind of telling Doctor Doom that he is happy about the idea of what humans and mutants were able to accomplish, but he was just hoping that humans and mutants could have done it together. He kind of feels like the mutants should have worked with the humans to reach that goal. Instead, it was mutants doing their own thing without the humans. Now, this is a very, very interesting conversation because he's having this conversation with Doctor Doom. And matter of fact, you have Doctor Doom tell Steve Rogers, you are probably one of the only Avengers that I probably respect. And really, I respect you the most out of all of them. And so that is why Dr. Doom and Steve Rogers are having this conversation without battling one another. On top of the idea, they're at a party right now. But either way, though, it's Dr. Doom kind of listening what Steve Rogers is saying, that Steve was hoping that mutants and humans could have worked together to reach that goal, to help turn Mars into something great. But of course, the mutants did not wait, and they did it by themselves. Now, he's not mad, but he's not truly happy. He's just like satisfied, like, okay, you know what? I'll take what we were able to get. Now, that is the moment where we basically do pick up with Abigail Brand and Frenzy. Of course, Abigail Brand is the leader of Sword, and Frenzy kind of works for her. Now, with that being said, right now we see Abigail Brand and Frenzy having a conversation with different members who basically represent different empires in the Marvel universe. So like the Shi'ar Empire or the Kree Skrull Empire and other empires that are out there in the Marvel universe are here right now to basically talk to Abigail Brand and Frenzy. Now, the reason why they're having this conversation is because it's Abigail Brand and Frenzy kind of telling everybody, look at what we accomplished. Look at what we did. We took a planet that's in our solar system and basically turned it to a planet that's now has the ability to help us live on there now. Like, we have terraformed this entire planet to be a planet that's now livable. Now, of course, for these other members or these other people who represent different empires in the Marvel universe, they're kind of like, and what's your point? Like, we come from empires where we have multiple planets under our empire. You are people from one planet who basically terraform another planet that's right next to you guys, and it took you guys that long to basically do it. On top of the idea that you guys are literally just represent a small race of you guys on your home planet. Basically saying like, you don't even represent the people of Earth, you really represent the mutants of Earth, and that is it. Not mutants and humans, but just the mutants. And so with that being said, what you did is great and all, hippie-ki-yay, but like there's no actual reason for this meeting to basically show us what you guys have accomplished with things that we have accomplished millions years ago. Now, of course, you do have some members say, we'll give you props though. The fact that you were able to turn Mars into a livable planet at a very fast pace is really great. But still, that's just one planet. You have so many other planets around you. Come back to us when you have something more to actually offer. And so to kind of basically show that the reason why they called this meeting was just not because of Mars being transformed, but more the idea of what the mutants have discovered, a new kind of metal. And this metal is called Mysterium. Now, here's the thing about Mysterium. Mysterium is not found really anywhere else in the universe. And so with the mutants basically introducing Mysterium, of course, with it being a whole new kind of metal with so many different kinds of ability that basically outclasses other kinds of metal that are very well known in the universe, of course you have these people who are basically representing other empires from the universe. They're very surprised at what they're seeing and what this metal can basically do. And so you would think that this would be, Sword saying, hey, look, guys, here's our new metal. It's great and all. You can't have it. But instead, it's Abigail Brand saying, no, we are going to give you guys, each empire, a set amount of Mysterium. Now, this is not more of a, hey, here you go, and let's hope we stay on good terms. No, it's a bribe. Because basically, it's Abigail Brand saying, I want you guys to know that when it comes to Earth, and now Mars as well, the Sol system, our solar system, that basically right now we're no longer the backwater solar system that you empires think of us as. Instead, we are now actually an empire that can actually stand on its own 2 feet and do a lot of great things for our future solar system, or possibly the universe. And so with Mysterium, we want you guys to take it, but we want you guys to take it and realize that now when you think of us, we're not just some backwater area in the universe, that now we are something to be scared of. We are now a powerful empire. Now, here's the thing Abigail Brand says that's really shocking, which is basically Mars will now be the capital of our solar system, not Earth, Mars. And of course, Mars is being led by the mutants of Araco. And so this is a huge thing to say, but of course, you do have these other people from different empires really saying, maybe we should basically take this metal and basically use this metal for our own needs. Now, of course, that is the moment you have Doctor Doom appear. Now, when Doctor Doom appears, this is a huge moment. One, because he's ticked off that basically he was not invited to this meeting. Like, Doctor Doom really thinks this man should be invited to a galactical meeting. But either way, though, you do have Doctor Doom arrive. He says, you cannot make those claims, Abigail Brand, that basically now Mars is the capital of our solar system, where Earth is where we all come from, is still divided. You are just Cocoa. I am just Latveria. We have other countries out there and we're all fighting against one another. So how can you actually stand there and say, oh, Mars is our capital, and right now it basically represents our entire race, mutants and humans and so on, but when humans are still divided? You cannot make that claim. Now, of course, it's also Dr. Doom saying until we are actually able to bring all our countries together and then have someone kind of represent the different planets in our solar system, like somebody for Earth, as you say you have somebody for Mars, well then let's work on that first before you go out there and tell everybody, hey, look at us. We're now a new powerful force in the universe. And by the way, Mars is our capital, and we have somebody who basically represents Mars, while we have nobody actually representing Earth, because Earth has too many problems right now. It's too divided. And so this is Dr. Doom basically asking to have a meeting with the person who is basically going to represent Mars, the capital of our solar system. And of course, that person is Storm. And I'm like, yes, because Storm literally, it was a slow build-up for her character and Jonathan Hickman's work on the X-Men. But like, as soon as Araco was put on Mars, she was put not in charge of Mars, but to kind of represent Mars, the mutants on Mars. And so when Dr. Doom asks, okay, if Mars is our capital and Mars is going to have somebody out there to represent, who's that person? And they're like, it's Storm. And Doom's all like, oh. Because Dr. Doom highly respects Storm. He really does. And so, honestly, Dr. Doom has some feelings for Storm. But anyways, though, this is him kind of like, oh, I want to have a meeting with her right now. Now, while Dr. Doom and Storm left the meeting, of course, it does lead into the conversation about, hey, do the empires basically accept the offer that Abigail Brand made? They can get their Mysterium, but they have to respect this new empire, this human empire, our mutant empire that basically is being built right now in the Sol system. And we kind of find out most of the empires had basically accepted the offer. They took their Mysterium and they say, fine, we will look at you guys as a new kind of empire, an upcoming empire, no longer the backwater of the solar system or the universe, sorry. But of course, one empire did reject the offer, and that is the Intergalactic Empire of Wakanda. They basically said they do not need mutant metal, and this could play a role down the road for future Black Panther books and also X-Men books as well. Now, this actually leads into a very powerful conversation and actually the end of the book. And that conversation is Magneto and the Scarlet Witch. This is huge because, guys, for years and years and years and years in Marvel Comics, you basically know that The Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver were both the children of Magneto, alongside with Polaris. Now, of course, thanks to some different things happening here and there in Marvel Comics and behind the scenes in Marvel Studios, Fox Studios, and also comics, where basically they said, oh, the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver were never the children of Magneto. And so, of course, to Magneto, to have the idea you had 3 kids down to 1 is very huge. Now, with that being said, a lot of mutants hate Scarlet Witch. And the reason why, because back in House of M, she basically took away a lot of mutants' powers away. Now, of course, most of those mutants were able to get their powers back, but of course, some mutants had died when they lost their powers because they were using their powers in some kind of way where, of course, when they lost their powers, they had died, like falling out of the sky or basically falling into a volcano. That story right there is very interesting. But either way, though, with that being said, a lot of mutants hate the Scarlet Witch. And so for Magneto to actually invite her to the Hellfire Gala event is very huge because she still gets a lot of hate. But of course, this is Magneto actually wanting to kind of amend things with her, because they have not really talked ever since he found out that basically she's not his kid. And ever since they found out, they have not talked. And so this is kind of like their first big time conversation where, of course, it's Magneto just wanting to be close with her, even though she is not technically his daughter. He still looks at her as his daughter, and he kind of has a small piece of love for her like a daughter. And so even though they're not really related, it's him saying, you will always be my daughter. And I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, there's tears in my eyes because this was a huge moment. And I really thought Marvel was going to say, we know the secret now. Like some kind of dark secret, or like, you are my daughter, but we cannot tell them. Like I was really, really ready for it. But of course, that did not happen. Instead, is a heartfelt moment with Magneto saying, you will always be my daughter. And the book ends on that note right there. You're kind of like, oh my God, that's rough. That's rough. But it's good. It's so good. But this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.